There's a silent war going on in Portland, Oregon. And it's a war that many people can't admit. Between classes, between races, people competing for space, and it's attracted that predominant energy of competition. And it's infected all of the city. This place is a decent place for certain people to live if they're in a position to make money in a business, in maybe a particular career, if that's their thing, if that's who they are. And for some people, this is a slice of paradise in comparison to the types of lives they were living or places they were living in. But more and more, as I stay here and report on the news, I'm seeing more confirmation of all things that I thought would happen in this region happening to this region. And the worst is yet to come when it comes to human trafficking, when it comes to overpopulation, when it comes to where the rents are really going. When it comes to a dependent society, there's also a huge chunk of the city's population on food stamps, even if they're paying quite a bit for their rent and they're paying quite a bit for other things. And so there's this dependency on the system, a system which is already strained. When you look at the geopolitical situation in a worst-case situation or scenario, any major city or port city on the West Coast or anywhere for that matter, is it going to be a great place to be? And not only that, these drums towards war are going to continue, I believe, until the 2020s, freaking people out, but also people tuning out completely. I mean, how many times can somebody hear about Russian bombers over European countries until they just go, oh, it's always been this way. We've always had a Cold War. There's nothing to be concerned about here. There's nothing to be concerned about with robots replacing half of the human workforce by a certain point. Nothing to be concerned about when it comes to people being socially engineered to be divided and succumbing to the illusions of separation. There's not really anything more I can say or do that already hasn't been said already. I can say something calmer, I can provide more facts, I can be more entertaining, I could try to be more charismatic and funny. I could try all different types of presentation in order to get the truth out. The fact of the matter is, I'm now coming up on 10 years since being a media activist. Is one thing you can call me. Conspiracy theorist is pretty shallow. I think that I'm more of a philosopher than a revolutionary. Definitely more of a lover than a hater. I care about humanity. I care about Portland. I know where it's been, not just Portland, but this region, and I can see where it's going. It says a lot when you put out a word that you're looking for a place to rent that years ago would get you a decent place. Years ago, $300 a month, $350 a month. I can get nothing for $500 a month. It's a waste of money in a society where it's also very difficult to date in today's society, to get a job, to like your job, to enjoy the spaces that, well, for one example, places that I've come to know most of my life, like Laurelhurst Park, where I've been spending a great deal of time. I remember visiting that park when I was 8 years old, being there with my dad. I remember going there on trips with my mother. I have a lot of memories. And a lot of them are nothing but memories. Positive relationships, friendships with people, men and women, feeling respected, feeling like I was contributing something to this town. Now, it's like, it literally is an experience for me to look through the lens of the microcosm of what's happening to the greater whole of society, especially when so many people feel that this is the only place for them. Now, I understand there's a drought issue in Colorado as well as California, and there's other issues. But this last year of living in a vehicle and then upgrading to the trailer, it's been a real learning experience about a lot of different things, more than I can even get into. But what's important in this video is what I'm capable of, what I've been able to survive, and not just looking at this situation, looking back at other adventures I've had, going to Colorado, going to Kansas City, my willingness to travel, the carefree nature of it, but yet the focused intent to get somewhere where I'm enjoying where I am, where I can focus more of my time on creating content. There's a lot of things that I feel I need to get accomplished this year and next year along those lines, moving things forward to the next level and reaching more people. There's really not much of an argument for me to be in Portland to pull that off. Some people say that my message resonates best from this place. Some could also say that I'm more upset or that I show too much emotion, that it gets away in the message. And I understand that argument. I understand that perspective. So I'm looking at this from a perspective of what's to stop me now. But going back to Portland, where it's going to a place to the point of no return, with population growth, with crime, and with the ever-emerging police state. As the money dries up, you're going to see more aggressive police behavior again down the line, pulling people over, giving people tickets, and more tensions amongst the population. Now, I know a lot of people laugh at the idea of smart meters and cell phone towers and other things causing electromagnetic pollution. But I'll also say, in response to that retort, there is a lot of different articles coming out now about the health hazards concerning smart meters. And as I've said before, since a lot of these started going up in the city, I've seen people change, become less empathetic, more snappy, and I would say more influenced by that wild field of energy, which I don't feel is really natural for human beings to be coexisting for long periods of time side by side. It has effects, and I believe it has very strong effects. You add in the economic situations, the social factors, environmentally what's going on with Hanford leaking into the Columbia, the risk of the next major earthquake taking down the bridges in Portland. We're looking at an infrastructure collapse. And we also are seeing more power outages within the city, which are not directly, or at least reported, have anything to do with the solar flares or geomagnetic storms. Maybe there is a connection that they're not reporting, but that issue alone seems to be an infrastructure issue, or issues with, a tree falling down because of some high winds, and all of a sudden, for blocks and blocks, you have the grid out. And it seems to be happening a lot more, but there is a connection with high winds and storms and solar flares, so there is a connection on that level. There's also a story about all these smart meters that blew up. I forget the town. The article's posted on AM Media TV. So because of our dependency on this grid, on the system, because people have had it so good, people aren't prepared for the world to change, be it caused by a major third world war or a major solar flare or other major event that causes a panic. That is something that affects resources, something that affects the dollar, something that affects people's purchasing power. And when you have a situation of a whole lot of people in one particular area with not a whole lot of places to go or afford to go, it's a dangerous storm, and that dangerous storm is brewing. I'm going to have to take care of some things before I leave, and I think that I should go over my basic forecast for what's happening in this region on the next edition of Outside the Box TV. My warnings, also my suggestions, and keep it focused on that topic, and have a very informative last edition of Outside the Box, edition 346. And at some point next week, after Monday, that would be a good time to take off from this part of the planet. I feel that I was actually meant to come back here to see what's happened, to have a sense of closure, to know that this is not really my home. And I don't know if this has been one of my worst years of my life, but it's been pretty damn close. The positive aspect is my ability to live with less, living without roommates, living without certain aspects of drama. But it hasn't been without its drama. And it hasn't been without its complications. So I'm going to keep people updated on the exodus from Oregon. Kind of like a movie. There's Escape from New York, Escape from LA. Maybe in the not too distant future, they can actually film a Hollywood version of Escape from Portland. Maybe there's a solar flare. Maybe, there's other major events taking place on the West Coast. And people are finding themselves that they're going to have to be a little bit innovative to get resources, to get out of the city, to get away from the radiation zone, to get away from whatever's taking place. But I've always felt that something was coming to Portland. And for years, as I close here, people ask, why, Alex? Why do you keep seeing something in the future in Portland? And not everything I can explain. A lot of it's like a creeping feeling of sudden death or shock. But I feel this shock wave coming to Oregon. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people that are behaving as if they're heartless. They're behaving as if they're the most selfish people on the planet. They may not be self-professed Satanists, but the materialism, the greed, the self-worship, the vanity, the arrogance, the narcissism. It's clear that Portland is attracting that type of attitude where it flourishes. It's even, in some cases, more successful in dating and business and getting a home. It's everything opposite of spirituality and actually being in one with nature. It's just the latest fad or expression of man-dominated nature, but this time with a nice green glove. You know, oh, we love nature. We love it so much. We don't care what we're doing to the natural world, is what they're really saying. Or what they're doing emotionally, the people that lived here before them, before the rents went through the roof. And now it's affecting the rural communities. The rural communities outside of Portland are areas where we're starting to see more sprawl, more people exiting the city, rents are going up, and a lot of distrust, I might add, towards people that are Portlanders or from Portland or people that have moved to Portland. And it's certainly not an awesome town to be homeless in. It beats Dallas, it beats Los Angeles, it beats New York. But the issue here isn't the police state. The issue here is being surrounded by people that still have something, and they've worked their whole life to maintain that. And because they're in the rat race, because they're working so hard to get to their job, and they're working so hard to keep a hold of their boyfriend or girlfriend, they're working so hard to keep what they've got, that they don't seem to show empathy or sympathy for anyone else that's suffering. In fact, to show fear, to show that you're not well adjusted to this type of society, is to truly alienate yourself from other people that would rather live in a world where Santa Claus is real, the Tooth Fairy is real, and other forms of fallacies and lies. In a climate like that, people telling the truth about anything are going to be considered the enemy, and I'm tired of feeling like I'm the enemy. So with that, I'm going to close, and I'm going to keep people updated.